For Winston Cup drivers, they have the Daytona 500. Figure 8 drivers have the World Championship here at Riverhead Raceway. It's always been considered the big one at the end of the year for people who like to make left and right turns on the track, but hasn't slipped in popularity.
We used to get a lot more out-of-staters, but the problem now is it costs a lot more money to go out of state for other people to come to our racetrack to race, for us to go to other racetracks. The gas went up, tolls went up, everything went up, obviously, in the price of race cars. So it's very hard for other people to come to our racetrack. It's a shame, though, because that's when it really used to be good.
Every year it's less and less. I don't know if it's just too much for the out-of-staters to come out, or they got something else going on at their track. I really don't know.
The way it is now, it's just a Saturday night race. That's what it's coming down to.
It's not as good as it used to be. You know, the tracks tend to fade away and stuff. Like, we lost a couple of tracks here on Long Island. But still, it's a pretty good challenge.
The one driver who did make the trip from Florida says he likes the challenge of taking on the Long Island boys.
The guy I drive for, he comes every year. He's been up here 6 years in a row, so we'll be back next year, too, if everything goes right.
And what do drivers think about the future of this race?
It's slipped a little bit over the past few years, but I think it's going to come back to life. I think the V8s are going to show the guys down in Florida that the V8s can come up here and beat the 6 cylinders. And I really predict that next year you'll see 4, 5, 6 cars from Florida.
Hopefully in the future we'll have another figure 8 with 40 or 50 cars in it.
The lack of out-of-town drivers didn't slow the action in this year's World Championship race. As soon as the green flag dropped, things got hairy in the X. Roger Maynor made his move past Mark Lento on lap 7 to take the lead. With Maynor leading, Ralph Tasso and Joe Biondolillo Jr. battled it out for second. The leaders had to make some crazy crosses in the X to stay out front. But with just 3 laps left in the race, the action in the X reached out and bit Maynor. The 44 of Bob McDermott slides into the 28, taking Roger out of the lead and the race. With Maynor out of the way, Joe Biondolillo Jr. took control, leading Tom Kraft and Ralph Tasso across the finish line for a second straight World Championship.
I feel it's pretty unbelievable, too, because tonight with 3 runners, with Roger, Ralph, and me, you don't know what's going to happen. And you almost got to be happy for third, because, I mean, all 3 of us run really good. You never know what's going to happen up there.
Now, how do you expect to try to top this?
I don't think you can.
Came up with its own Big Bang Theory in only the 2nd week of the season. Peter Petruccio and Tony Urbino get hooked and hit the wall. But watch what happens next. Car after car piles in, and the amount of wreckage is simply unbelievable. Ron Thiel debuted his Levitt's Furniture Lumina with a top 5 finish, but this night would belong to Buzzy. Pete Erickson and his Hempstead Harley machine was able to fend off the challenges of Ed Denseski to take the win. Erickson would not be so lucky the next week, though, spinning in turn 2 early on. And reacquainting themselves once again were Petruccio and Urbina. The 26 would hold the top spot for a while until Ed Denseski muscled his way into the lead on the low side. Denseski would go on to take his first win for the Repco team. Ron Thiel was on fire in a double-point 50-lap race later that night. Thiel kept a nice cushion between he and Dan Giovanelli most of the race until the 28 pulled a bold move to the inside of the 17 to take the lead and the win away from Thiel. Giovanelli and a host of other racers would probably like to forget about last week's race. On the 16th lap restart, a chain reaction crash does in Giovanelli, Erickson, and about 5 other racers.
We were getting ready for the restart. The green came out, and somebody from behind just blasted me in the rear and drove me in the pole, and then everybody just started piling into one another.
Point leader Giovanelli was able to continue, but Erickson was done for the night. Quinn Volgraff's number 7 charged to the front, taking the lead from Don Doherty on lap 8 and holding off Steve Tooker and Paul McInerney for the win.